If you follow the WNBA, you've felt the shift. What should have been a season about packed arenas, record ratings, and final storylines has been hijacked by a leadership crisis that now sits squarely on the desk of NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. The public exchange between WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert and star forward Napheesa Collier, the fallout across locker rooms, and the silence of the league's most influential player, Caitlin Clark, have turned a management dispute into a strategic risk. Today, we break down why Silver stepped in, what's driving the backlash against Engelbert, how the finals were overshadowed, and what the CBA negotiations must solve to avoid a lockout in 2026. Stay with us to the end, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Then tell us in the comments, should the WNBA install new leadership before it signs its next collective bargaining agreement? A record season collides with a trust problem. This year had one mandate: keep the momentum going. The league finally had a market moment, attendance up, television windows coveted, sponsors ready to scale, and a larger cultural footprint than ever. The Caitlin Clark effect drew in fans who had never watched a WNBA game. Meanwhile, established stars, Aya Wilson, Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, Napheesa Collier, delivered elite basketball. But off the court, the growth collided with recurring grievances: uneven officiating, limited travel resources, opaque communication from the league office, and a sense that players were being asked to carry a bigger product without being fully heard. The spark: Napheesa Collier versus Cathy Engelbert. The immediate crisis has a clear trigger. Napheesa Collier, an all-WNBA forward and vice president of the Players Association, publicly described a private conversation in which she said Engelbert told her Caitlin Clark should be grateful to the WNBA for the visibility leading to endorsements. Engelbert denied making that comment at a pre-finals press conference, praising Clark as transformational, but referencing inaccuracies in recent reporting and statements. The denial did not calm the waters. A scheduled meeting to clear the air reportedly fell apart. A players versus commissioner narrative hardened in headlines. And once again, the league's biggest game was overshadowed by an internal story the WNBA could least afford: Adam Silver's intervention, not just economics, relationships. When the NBA commissioner addresses WNBA governance during the finals, something has changed. Silver used measured language, growing pains, to describe a league adjusting to success. But he also said the quiet part out loud: there are issues we need to address with our players. They're not just economic, they're relationship issues. That is code for a breakdown in trust. Silver credited Engelbert for historic gains in revenue, visibility, and corporate partnerships. Seasoned observers recognize the subtext. He understands the growth, but he also recognizes a damaged relationship between players and the league office that could jeopardize the next phase. Caitlin Clark's silence speaks for itself. Caitlin Clark didn't create this crisis, but she is at the center of its gravity. She continued to show up, play, and fulfill team obligations while stepping back from league-amplifying content. In modern sports, silence is a signal. Clark didn't tweet a demand. She didn't spike a statement. She let the moment breathe, which, given her reach, made sponsors, executives, and broadcasters stop and listen. Love her or hate the hype around her, Clark's influence is undeniable. Every time she speaks, or refuses to, it moves the market. The finals were overshadowed, and that's on leadership. The WNBA Finals should be the league's most marketable week of the year. Instead, the news cycle was dominated by a press conference, a swerve into media politics, and social backlash. The official channels pumped out highlights, merchandise links, and unity messages. Fans weren't buying. They wanted officials to discuss officiating standards. They wanted the league office to take accountability. They wanted the commissioner to be a dialogue partner rather than a PR firewall. Sponsors noticed. So did Silver. The rumor of a player's ultimatum, and why it matters. A wave of reporting suggested that some players were discussing whether leadership change should be part of the CBA conversation. It's not unprecedented for unions to raise governance in collective bargaining, but it is rare and risky. Whether or not the idea is formalized, the fact that it's being discussed shows how brittle the relationship has become. If trust isn't restored quickly, negotiations become hostage to personal disputes. That is why Adam Silver's tone shifted from commentary to stewardship. What the CBA must solve, fast. Beneath the noise are real issues. Players want travel conditions comparable to the product's growth. including wider charter coverage and more rational scheduling. They want transparent discipline and consistent officiating standards. They want revenue sharing that reflects surging interest. They want clarity on licensing, likeness, and sponsorship guidelines. Owners want labor peace, predictable costs, and a league whose governance looks coherent to corporate partners. Broadcasters want a clean narrative about the game, not crisis of the week commentary. If the CBA is not done by late fall, the lockout risk in 2026 becomes real. The league cannot burn momentum built over 12 months because of a trust gap that should have been addressed in March. Officiating, a flashpoint the league must address. There's no getting around it. Officiating has been a sore spot. Early season clips of hard contact against Caitlin Clark. Many fans felt undercalled, lit up the internet and lingered in perception. The league has promised training and standardization. But in a sport trying to grow, perception is performance. Consistent rules enforcement protects stars and the integrity of the product. That is not coddling. It is standard operating procedure in a professional league. The sponsor and owner view, confidence and clarity. Multiple reports suggest Silver's office has fielded calls from sponsors, team owners, and player representatives asking the same question. Do you have this under control? Relationship issues is a diplomatic way to say what brands care about: confidence. When investors sense a vacuum, they pull back. That has not happened in force yet, but the warning signs were there. A finals overshadowed, social media backlash, and league messaging that didn't meet the moment. Is Engelbert out of time? Cathy Engelbert has tried to reset, scheduling additional meetings with players, reiterating her appreciation for their role, dispatching internal memos, and pushing a message of partnership. But trust is not rebuilt with memos. Some front offices, according to people familiar, are frustrated by what they see as a focus on optics rather than concrete fixes. The public denial of Collier's recounting did not win over locker rooms. It hardened views. When the conversation moves from the merits of issues to the credibility of the leader, options shrink. Either there is a substantive change in style, publicly and privately, or there is eventually a change in leadership. The interim question: contingency or plan? It is not out of the realm of possibility that Silver could step in with an interim solution if the climate jeopardizes CBA talks. That would be a strong move, rare in WNBA history, but it would also reassure partners that the NBA won't let a booming product stall. It may never come to this, but the fact that it's discussed seriously underscores the pressure building inside and outside the league office. Why everything circles back to Caitlin Clark. This is not about deifying one player. It is about recognizing what drove this year's growth. Caitlin Clark's pull brought in paying customers, new viewers, and a cross-demographic audience that the WNBA has sought for years. It's rational to protect that asset, not by bending rules, but by demonstrating competence. If Clark feels exploited or underserved, the league loses more than a fan favorite. It loses a bridge to millions. Silver understands this. So do owners. The goal is not to build a league around one player. The goal is to leverage the attention she created to carry everyone forward. How to fix it now? The roadmap is not complicated. It is difficult, but not complicated. First, convene a mediated summit between Engelbert, the WNBPA leadership, and a handful of respected veterans and rising stars. The room needs experienced facilitators who can turn grievances into agreements. It should end with written commitments and deadlines for travel standards, officiating reforms, transparency of discipline, and revenue-sharing frameworks, not platitudes. Second, overhaul communication. The league must explain decisions in real time, publishing officiating reports and discipline rationale, clarifying scheduling choices, and owning errors is not weakness. It builds credibility. Third, lock in the CBA early. A lockout in 2026 would be catastrophic just as the product has broken through. If Engelbert's presence becomes an impediment that owners, players, and sponsors can't work around, Silver will have to weigh interim leadership. That is not a threat. It is crisis management. A word to purists: excellence and entertainment can coexist. There is a persistent fear that the sport is sacrificing substance for spectacle in the era of influencers. The alternative is not to reject growth and return to smaller rooms. The answer is to hold two lines at once, deliver elite basketball and shape the story around it. On the court, The league is rich with talent. Aya Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, Nafisa Collier, Kelsey Plum, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark. Off the court, governance needs to match that quality. What's actually at stake? Sponsors who committed real money. Networks that put the WNBA in prime spaces. Fans who filled new seats. All of them need reassurance. If the CBA isn't signed on schedule and the climate remains poisonous, the worst-case scenario moves from unlikely to possible. Adam Silver said, "We'll get a deal done." It's both a promise and a signal that he has taken ownership of the timeline. From crisis back to construction. The league had to do one thing this season: build on historic interest. Instead, it found itself handling a public trust crisis that overshadowed the finals. Nothing is irretrievable. The base is there, the product is there, the partners are there. What's needed now is a clear political act, a shift in tone, or both. Done right, the WNBA can leave this stretch stronger, with a CBA that reflects today's audience and tomorrow's ambitions. Your turn. Does the WNBA need new leadership before the CBA is finalized? Should Adam Silver install an interim commissioner if negotiations stall because of relationship issues? Should Caitlin Clark use her voice, or continue using her silence, to shape the outcome? Share your view below. If this analysis helped, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We'll keep you updated on CBA talks, WNBA governance, Adam Silver's next steps, and the Caitlin Clark effect with reporting that sticks to facts and context. The ball is in leadership's hands. The clock is running.